Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So the odds open up to this fight, and it turns out Danny Jacobs is an 8-1 underdog when it comes to his chances against Gennady Golovkin. Now, some would say those odds are surprising. I would say they're not that surprising. Maybe a little higher than I thought they would be, but you have to remember, when a fighter is knocked out and he's going up against one of the hardest punchers in the sport, that pretty much shapes and influences the perception of how the fight will play out. So with that all being said, that's the reason why they have Danny Jacobs as an 8-1 underdog. I personally think, looking at the knockdown, when Danny Jacobs got knocked down by Sergio Mora, who's not known to be a very hard puncher, I think some fans were looking too deep into that. So Danny Jacobs, once he found out that he was an 8-1 underdog, this was his reaction. Let me go ahead and quote what he had to say. Quote, "That's pretty bad, right? So the more the merrier." So when Jacobs was asked did it bother him, he responded, "Nah, because I was the underdog with Peter Quillin, and I really didn't feel like I was supposed to be the underdog. And once that happened, I was like, you never know what you're going to get with these guys. But a guy like Triple G, who's been knocking out all these guys, it's expected. I was expecting to be obviously the underdog. I didn't know how far in debt I was going to be the underdog. But that doesn't matter to me because the people choosing for him to be the favorite aren't in there fighting for him. So I'm the one who gets to dictate that, right? So it's cool." And then he goes on to just basically say that that's just a whole lot of motivation for him. So with that all being said, I thought Danny Jacobs, he made a good point when he talked about being an underdog in a Peter Quillin fight, because it was the same scenario, same circumstances, same perception, which is a lot of people thought he would lose that fight because why? He had been knocked out previously. This is exactly the consensus going into this Golovkin fight. A guy, once again, who's been knocked out before. That means supposedly he automatically has a suspect chin. And I don't know if you could just say a person has a suspect chin just because they've been knocked out. Manny Pacquiao, he had been knocked out twice before he became pound for pound number one, the best fighter in the world. And he had a great chin. Manny Pacquiao to this day has a good chin. But when you make a mistake, it's lights out. And it doesn't really matter how good your chin is. The interesting thing about this fight is everyone is wondering what's going to happen, or maybe I shouldn't even say they're wondering. A lot of people are expecting soon as Danny Jacobs gets touched, it's going to be a wrap. How long can he go before he gets touched? But I think we should also be wondering, how is Golovkin going to react if he gets touched with not just one, but a couple of bombs? Now, we've seen what a smaller Kell Brook did to Golovkin when Kell Brook touched Golovkin. When Kell Brook touched Golovkin, Golovkin did not react like a person that was comfortable with getting hit with bombs. Kell Brook's bombs was more like welterweight, junior, middleweight bombs. It'll be very interesting to see how Golovkin deals with a true middleweight with power when he deals with his kind of bombs. You know, the funny thing about going in the ring with a guy who's expected to knock you out and everyone's perception is you can't take a punch, etc., etc. Not all the time, but a lot of times that actually makes a fighter a lot more alert in the ring. He doesn't make near as many mistakes as he would make in a fight against a guy that he doesn't expect can really hurt him, right? Sometimes fighters, they go in the ring and they become a lot more gun shy to where they don't let their hands go. And then other times they fight the perfect fight where, once again, they don't really make too many mistakes. And next thing you know, the guy who's the favorite, he's the one that starts making mistakes because he's feeling more invincible than the underdog. So with that being said, that's what makes this fight so interesting, because the way the Peter Quillin fight played out with Danny Jacobs, I believe this fight will play out the same way. I mean, well, of course not with Golovkin getting knocked out in the first round. I just mean the style, the way that Danny Jacobs was fighting. Danny Jacobs, he had a lot of respect for Peter Quillin's power in that fight, if you notice. Even though he had a lot of respect for Peter Quillin's power, Danny Jacobs was not gun shy. He was moving around the ring. You could tell that he was like, okay, this guy is a very hard puncher. I'm not trying to make any mistakes. Next thing you know, he caught Peter Quillin before Peter Quillin caught him. So this is also going to be a case of who catches who first, I truly believe. Now, hopefully we get to learn a lot more about Golovkin in this fight. Hopefully it's not another Dominic Wade type performance to where we really don't know how Golovkin will deal with adversity. Because if Danny Jacobs goes in there and he blasts Golovkin with a couple of hard shots and staggers Golovkin or something like that, and Golovkin has to come back, or maybe he knocks down Golovkin and Golovkin has to rally back from that. For the first time, Golovkin is at a disadvantage, at a deficit. Hopefully we get to see something like that just to see exactly what Golovkin is made of. So we'll see. But that's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.